so to speak. But I think that there is a great need in order to improve the statistics of Indigenous kids, because a lot of Indigenous kids go to mainstream colleges and they get lost in all of this. And they're so used to, I guess, back to that cultural identity and cultural connectedness, we are really, really, really family-oriented. So when you're extremely family-oriented, going off to college is really a big change. And when I say really, really, really family-oriented, I mean my own children, their third cousins are like first cousins. Their first and second cousins are like siblings to them. They see them and are with them all the time. You know all your aunties and uncles. You have lots of aunties and uncles that are really your third and fourth cousins that you call auntie and uncle. And you see all these people and are with all these people all the time. And you have this whole network of people that you're connected to and that are connected to your family. And it's all woven together in the fabric of what makes us a Native community. And because of that, when they go off to college in just some random place that maybe is very mainstream in America to do that today, we had one child that tried to go off to Haskell, young man. He actually graduated, I believe, from here afterwards. But he went to Haskell. His parents drove him all the way out to Kansas. They set up his room. They stayed overnight in the hotel. And he drove right back to Rhode Island with them the next day. And that was the end of that, because that was too far away from home and too far away from the networks and the family that you have. The young man that's out there right now, his brother happens to be out there because his wife is in the military and they got stationed in Kansas. So when the holidays come, if he can't afford to fly all the way home, he goes to his older brother's house about an hour away. So we need that connection. So Native programs like the NASO group here at URI, like the NAB group, Native Americans at Brown, all these schools and many others across the nation have Native American programs, student programs. I know here at URI, sometimes they struggle to keep things going as generations of Native students come and go. Years ago, it was actually called NASA then, but Native American Student Association or organization member here at the university, and it's giving you that piece of community inside your college experience. And so these are really important, and it also fosters that cultural identity. And in many cases, even here at URI, they've established a powwow, and I know they're wanting to try to reestablish it. We're having a meeting at the later part of this week about that same issue to kind of, one, share with all of you about our culture, and two, to have that cultural connectedness and identity on their college experience. Some of the campus issues. Tribal colleges have a shortage of Native educators, so Indigenous educators. So it's all well and good to try to teach from a Native perspective, but if you are not Indigenous, you can't do that all the time. You can't understand that perspective fully enough to do that. So that's one issue that happens. Certainly, scholarships and financial aid are a huge issue. There is this notion that because tribes get some dollars from the feds that all of a sudden all of us get paid. I can't tell you how many people thought I got a free ride to college. Tell my mortgage that when I wrote all my student loans into that a few years back. You know, got to get rid of them somehow. So that's definitely not a case, and a lot of times families don't have those resources. The leadership of tribal schools and the control, which we talked about from tribal communities, limits of the programs that they have there. And sometimes, in some cases, the isolation, being isolated, which we mentioned how that student just couldn't do it. It was too far from home. And on big campus, sometimes they're completely isolated. I remember being in my college dorm room, and luckily I had a great roommate. We got along great. She was from a different ethnicity. She was Greek American, but her parents were first generation, so she was very connected to culture. And I would be in my dorm room beating, on my regalia, or I would be saying I was going to go to a palace. I'd be in the room when no one was in there practicing dancing or something like that with my now I'm really sounding old, my Walkman. It was the thing back then. But the idea is that it's, you know, you're connected to these things and it's still part of you, but sometimes you have to put that to the side. And of course there's racism and bias issues and then social issues.
Thanks for watching. This podcast series is presented by Tomaquag Museum. Visit our website at www.tomaquagmuseum.org. Support this and other great podcast content at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/artways. The Indigenous Lifeways podcast is funded in part by the Rhode Island State Council on the Arts. Investment in arts and culture. Videography by Dana Nugent. Video editing by Dana Nugent and Michael Johnson. Music presented by Eagle and Hawk. www.eagleandhawk.com